the. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so I just started a recording, FYI. I'll share the document. Which reminds me, I think I never posted anything from last week. Let's go find it. It's probably on my disk. I sometimes get a little backlogged. But, okay. So the first one, there's this PR. This is, it's, what happens is, if you compile a Rust dilib, which is not really a well-supported use case, we use it for the standard library though, it currently dumps a whole lot of symbols in there, including, I think, the symbols, if I understand, from all your C dependencies. That sometimes overloads Windows, which has like a hard limit on the number of symbols in a segment or something. And so this PR kind of narrows it down. There is some crate on Crater that we found that relies on this. There's a pending now PR to change it. And the feeling from like Alex and others was that this is not really a supported use. Let's say this is like an ABI detail that you're not supposed to depend on. And we might as well. I think I agree with that, but go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to depend on. I just think that, like, DLib isn't really a stable artifact. Like,
what I mean is, right, what I mean by it's an API detail is that the Rust compiler does not guarantee at the moment. It's sort of meant for, the Rust compiler guarantees that it would work with itself, but it doesn't guarantee that you should be able to inspect those set of symbols and expect things to be present. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know where it's documented, if anywhere it is documented what symbols are available in DYLib, and it seems
it's probably clear. Not documented, is my guess, right? Right. I think one thing, basically, what I think we should do is document that these are like meant for internal use and not really, you can't rely on much from them. And at some point, we probably want to support this, I think, but we don't yet. And at that point, we would probably want to add the ability for people to control what set of symbols they have exported.
Do we want, so one question is if we want to take one step further and like put dilibs under a thing until we have some sort of design.
Yeah, I'm just reluctant because I don't know who's going to do it and what the complications would ensue. I feel okay about people using dilibs as long as they're, well, I would like to confer with Alex, but I think there's probably a like way to use them that seems okay, but I'm not sure. Basically, I suspect people are using them and we may not be able to fully exclude them, but we could ask about it. So shall I write, is it reasonable to write a statement that says, we agree these are not documented, we'd like to know if there is documentation, and maybe where we could document it. And we're curious if you could actually add a -z flag of some kind or something so as to prevent dilibs from being used apart from the standard library.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I was going to say maybe the Rust C book might be a place.
That set of symbols.
Is it feasible to feature gate Rust dilib? Perhaps not. What uses of Rust dilib are stable, if any? Okay. So this is a PR to Coherent. This is like there was a bug in Coherence from 2017. This bug has been fixed. We've been like slowly letting people do fixes. There is still about 20 crates on crates.io that haven't someone did a lot of work merging all, like opening PRs against all the broken crates and so on. Not all of which have been merged. By the way, I'm gonna try to mute some of you because I'm getting weird feedback. Okay, it's better now. I think it was Taylor, but I'm not sure. We want to go forward with converting this from a warning to a hard error. The set of crates that I saw that were affected was pretty, it's like all 0.1 crates. Oh, it takes forever. Just loading the number of PRs this heroic person opened. It like overloads GitHub, but does anyone object to like turning this to a hard error, I guess is the question. Maybe we should schedule it right at the beginning of a nightly session or something. Okay.
Procedurally, should we do an FCP on this?
Yeah, we could do that. That's actually probably a good idea. I'll write up a report, yes. Here's the list of crates if anyone's curious, but what I mean is a lot of, not Fortress, but a lot of 0.1, mostly unsupported sort of looking things, but I don't know. It's hard to say what's in here. Nothing caught my eye, but okay. All right. Oh, now we get to the destructor thing. Scott, are you up to date on this? I guess we can. We were just talking about it. This will be the third time, but I'll give the real brief TLDR. If you have a variable like this, and you do this, and you're returning something, and let's say both X and Y have a destructor. If the destructor for X panics, then the destructor for Y never runs. And the reason I believe, though I haven't really verified this, is because the callee, which is foo, thinks it has transferred ownership of Y to the caller, but the caller doesn't know that. So what we were basically saying, we think that the correct behavior is that Y should get dropped before X. Oh, wait, we can't do that. Because you don't know, you have to run X's destructor to know that it panics, to know that you have to run Y's destructor. Because if X's destructor doesn't panic, then you don't want to destruct Y because it's getting returned, right? So in fact, there is only really one choice. It either drops last or not at all.
Sorry, I missed that. Can you say why that is?
Okay. The point is, under normal circumstances, we're going to drop X and then Y is going to be returned and everything's done. It's only if the destructor for X panics.
This is only failing if the destructor for other locals on the stack are panicking is when this doesn't get dropped?
That's right.
Oh, okay, sure. All right. Well, I mean, yeah, it's last or it's, before the remaining things, which is weird.
I mean, yeah, I think it should be last at that point, but it doesn't make much difference. Like,
yeah,
the real.
I mean, I can't come up with a situation in which this would be like meaningfully different.
I wonder what happens with other variables. I feel like we should go and write a whole bunch of test cases for like all the different panicky scenarios, just to be sure and know what the behavior is. Like, what if you have a let A here? Does its destructor run if the destructor for X panics? I don't remember, but you know.
I mean, it definitely should.
I'm just saying, if we're going to talk about any of this, we should like write. There's not that many tests. We should write a few test cases. The same thing with struct fields, and sort of figure out what it does. And okay, well, who's going to do that? I don't know. But I guess our conclusion from this meeting is we're not with the current behavior. We consider it a bug. We think it would be nice to, what the hell is this? To sort of try out, fully document the space, and then.
If Panic just always aborted, this wouldn't be an issue.
If only people didn't need to recover. Okay. It's true. It would not be an issue.
Those darn testing harnesses.
Salsa uses it. Super convenient.
What for?
If you're typing in an IDE and then you, for canceling ongoing work, it's one of the Salsa's recovery strategies.
Oh boy.
Panic and catch the panic at the top. There's it's like a logical thread, basically. You don't really have to catch the panic because you actually are running in another thread usually. Just let the thread die.
Okay.
There's another panic strategy or a cancellation strategy you can use. It's just really tedious and annoying.
That makes sense.
I've never joined before, but I'd like to point out that aborting on a second panic would be strictly better than what C++ does, just because in C++, if the destructor panics, you've got you're going to have undefined behavior if you panic twice.
We do abort on we abort when we are unwinding already. And
right.
I think all destructors I think we probably can't do this, but what I wanted to do at various points is that all destructors should abort if they panic, period.
On panic, yeah.
Whenever they.
I mean, that would make this bug a non-issue, right?
It's not only this bug. I'm pretty sure there's tons of unsafe code. It's very hard to reason about.
It would be unsurprising to people coming from C++ at least, just because the standard community guidance there is never, ever, 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 ever throw an exception from destructor.
Right. I wanted to do it a long time ago, and I thought I can't. It's already 1.0. So I feel like that's probably doubly true now. But
what happens if file closing fails in a destructor today? Do we not panic?
File closing?
Yeah, because the STDFS file.
I don't know what
close happens. I don't know what happens. That seems like a thing I should know. It probably does nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely very unfortunate to panic in your destructor. Okay, that's
destructors are friends.
That covers the things we had. We don't really have a good action plan here, but that's okay, I guess. We didn't decide what we were going to do today, but Central and I were thinking we could do some general triaging. Given the limited attendance, that sort of makes sense. One thing we could talk about is it's this nominated RFC.
Oh my god! I just realized that I was that I was muted. Sorry. I think we need to move on, and we should delegate this somehow. Maybe ask Felix or Matthew.
To do what?
To investigate what.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think delegating, or I think just to create two things that would maybe be useful is creating test cases and verifying my theory.
Yes. And to who? Who do you ask? They can say no, but we ask.
I think Matthew, Jasper, or Felix are good. Might be interested in this. It's probably a good call.
Let's move on.
Yeah, agreed. So ampersand raw, we talked about. This is ampersand raw, that we were going to try to schedule that. This, I wanted to go to this one. This is pointer metadata and vtables. And the last time we talked about it, I basically said, I don't know how to think about this from the point of view of prioritization and so on. And Simone had an answer, which, you know, I didn't get around to reading. I don't know if any of you did. And now I think, oh, I should read that because it's GitHub notifications. But the question is, and Erickson had another answer, and we have to decide what to do.
I think we are already doing too much, and I don't think we should open new work right now. It seems like something that takes a lot of time, and I'm still nervous about the trait object stuff. Perhaps do it in an experimental fashion, but I don't think I want to commit to anything. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I also feel very ambiguous. I feel like we've many times been burned by this feeling of we have a lot of unstable stuff. On the other hand, I appreciate the effort to like unblock extern type and so on.
I think there's a difference between like saying explicitly that this is something we want to experiment with and then going ahead and experimenting with it, whereas having a bunch of unstable stuff that we have committed to that are just in limbo. But if we say that, okay, we don't know, we want to try this out, perhaps it makes sense, feel free to implement it nightly, but we have not signed up on the thing itself, basically, on the design. I think that would work well.
Do you all have any thoughts? Taylor, Scott, Kyle?
Feels like one of those, I kind of want a small part of it in there, but not like officially RFC'd, but that's sort of even worse than officially RFC'd and having just random stuff that's not stable. So I don't know.
Can you say why?
I don't know. I have this feeling like we are bad at like, we know we want something here and we definitely need a big write-up for it eventually, but when do we actually do the big write-up, and can we start making progress on little pieces of it somehow? But that conflicts with we want the holistic thing and not to just have half-finished things. So my thoughts are all over the place.
I think it's like this, the way I see it is, it's hard to argue against incremental progress, but it's also true that if you do too much of it, you kind of get stuck.
The area feels like one of those things that we definitely want at some point, but.
All right. I think I'd like to read the RFC in question.
The question for me here is not so much do small parts or do large parts, but rather design first, experiment later, or experiment first, design later. And I think in this case, it might be good to experiment first without committing to design, that is. And
it reminds me a bit of the tri-trait stuff where we had a really long design discussion and we ended up at something that people aren't like actually super happy about. even though we thought we were happy about it. I wonder if this is one of those places where we need to play with the traits to see if it's any good before we have an RFC to say, look, this one actually works.
Yeah. I could buy that. It reminds me of const generics too, and constfn, which I think is ultimately going to work out well. Like constfn is sort of prototyping the how can we go from extended experimentation to stable surface, right?
Yeah.
I think I could get behind the idea of landing this in an unstable, like explicitly experimental fashion.
I would say.
And parroting your constfn thing there, if this has like 7 different feature gates and we do, like we have all these things and we go, oh yes, this little piece over here seems exactly what we needed, and stabilize that bit as we move along, that sounds plausible to me.
I think I would be reluctant. I would not
stabilizing or something.
I think I would call this it would be a custom DST, like it's part of a custom DST effort, but we're not ready to do that. But we are ready to let people do experimentation under the with the expectation that we're going to want a holistic view before we stabilize. At least maybe there's like tiny pieces we feel comfortable with. But,
the other part of try that this sort of makes me think of is, do we have this in a way that no one can implement it or consume it via the trait directly, but we have bounds on certain things where it can work or something?
I mean, the only real use case for this seems to be pointer null. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The only use case that would have pressure to stabilize imminently.
Yeah, sure. And that doesn't require stabilizing the trait, right? It just requires putting the bound on the function.
Correct. Well, yeah, you could at least make it unstable to implement the trait or something. I don't know, because you don't want to propagate that bound up.
We could end up, we sort of have the trifold situation where you can use trifold, but you can't implement it.
Right, maybe that would be plausible. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good world state or not, but it's one we've had before.
I feel I feel like I feel okay with it, but I also feel like I'm walking into a trap. Not a trap. Nobody has bad intentions, obviously, but I feel like
I think the experimentation, doing experimental RFCs is more of a general comment from my side. I think we do too little of like, let's try something out and actually we have no idea if this will be a good idea, but maybe let's find out. I mean, if it doesn't take a ludicrous amount of work and it like messes with the whole infrastructure of the compiler, like if it's reasonably feasible to implement in an experimental fashion that doesn't take a huge amount of time, then.
Okay. So I think the general consensus is we're feeling positive about experimentation and the expectation that we will not stabilize until we have time to consider a more holistic view, or at least be confident it won't conflict, right?
Yes.
Okay. So under that, I think what I will do is I will FCP merge and nominate for us to discuss at a future meeting because we don't have a ton of people here.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry. I think people couldn't hear me. Can you hear me now?
No. Hear you now, yes.
Oh, okay. Cool. Sorry, I was just saying, do we want to follow a similar policy for Ubisoft's related RFC for custom DSTs? Because
plausibly.
Which one was that?
That would also be super, super valuable for FFI stuff and does like fit in as like a roadmap item under, I feel like, that justification.
So I just don't want any pressure to stabilize anything anytime soon.
Which RFC are you referring to?
Ubisoft's most recent custom DST one.
at GitHub.
It's on the actual RFC. She has like 10. It's the one that's actually on the RFC's repo right
I
now.
linked it on
Or whatever it is. Sorry.
on the agenda, the meeting.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I wonder if it'd be worth like trying to get Simone and Ubi-san to like walk us through this plan and talk about the overall idea of how a custom DST implementation would work.
I'm happy to talk about it at some point too, but if you wanted to schedule like a dedicated meeting or something on it, I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I think it'd be fun to have them present and then we'd all be on the same page.
Like a
I'm down.
presentation or something.
I can actually get off my butt and do some scheduling stuff this afternoon. I'm feeling kind of tired, so that seems like something I could try to do. Like email them and propose a plan.
Right.
Okay.
But probably we have other things that we need to schedule, so raw pointers needs to first, at least.
What's that?
The raw pointer syntax and stuff.
Right. That's like the first one, and this would be the second one. I think the thing I would like to know, I will send an email. And basically, I'm sending an email. I would like to know also from LinkedIn members who aren't here who wants to be at each of these meetings, right?
We
send out
also
2 doodle polls. I'll say block yourself.
I assume we would use the normal meeting time.
Yeah, that would be my preference, unless for some reason.
We also need to schedule the stability story and future compatibility warnings, as well as SD alert cargo.
Yes.
And I think those should come first.
I think,
Because
okay,
they
scheduling is such a pain. All right.
want to move this to the primary agenda as well later.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, the next thing was the infiltrate, which I think I'll just talk to. I'll just talk to Boats about it, I guess. All right. So general triage. So central, you wanted to go through RFC.rs. That's probably a good idea.
Yep.
All right.
So looking at the 9 stuff, generalized type description is blocked on
yes.
On what we want to do, and I haven't done any work on like the things that Nico brought up, because that doesn't seem like worth the time if we might not do it.
You remember what I brought up? I remember bringing up some stuff.
Yeah, I was going to address those, but then I
okay, yeah, go ahead. Oh, can you summarize what they are?
What are
the things you were going to address?
your comments?
Yeah, what were my comments? So try to figure out.
Refining paths, what to do, describe types constraint, where does coercion occur?
Yes, okay.
Which are more like technical concerns rather than.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think there's not much to do here, so let's move on.
Well, it seems like we're basically blocked on me, or
no, blocked on bots, I think, mostly.
Okay, because of a blocking concern. All right, yeah, we'll have to have. So that's something we could schedule, in other words.
I think we discussed, when we discussed it on the all hands, we said we weren't going to invest much time in this, I think.
So should we postpone it? Like
postpone the RFC, you mean?
Mm-hmm. If we're not going to invest time in it.
I don't know.
We'll leave it as is for now. But,
yes. Okay. Maybe add some inactive label or something.
Uplift lints from Clippy to Rusty.
I think we need to split this somehow to make it go anywhere. Like, I would suggest that we split this issue into each lint, and then we go through those. And perhaps we get some bit of inconsistency, but we won't get anywhere unless we split them.
Mm.
And perhaps we can develop some policy through going through them.
I think-
baptism by fire.
Yeah. Plausible. I guess. Right. I think I agree with what Boat says here, that some kind of guideline or rule that we can apply feels good, though. It seems like we have a lot of, I don't know, I'm curious what people in this group, at least who are present here, think about lints overall and where we are, what kind of lints we should have. But
we have a bunch of lints that deal with bad code, not just bugs in compiler already. So
yeah.
I think it would be terribly inconsistent to add some more, unless we feel that was a mistake.
I've been wondering about how we decide if like lints that are tied to specific functions actually belong in the compiler. If they're part of the language, or if they become part of Clippy, or if the way to have a lint in the compiler is to generalize it in a way that it becomes an attribute or something like that. Because we have like, there's a lint in Clippy for step by 0, which just panics, so that shouldn't happen. But
Yes.
is the correct answer to put that lint in the compiler, or just to say, well, we make this new assertion attribute, or if this is 0, it throws attribute or something like that, that people can put on their own thing, and then it becomes part of the compiler? Whereas something that are specific to
Sounds sort of
different
like,
libraries or something like that stay in Clippy, even if it stood?
that sounds sort of like must use today, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But must use
But must-
is a general thing.
Must use is an attribute like that. Non-exhaustive
It's not a lint.
actual is not a lint. It's sort of linty, but
No,
yeah,
definitely not.
you're right. It's semver, so it's not just a lint. There's a bunch of like, if we can find patterns and things and turn them into things that don't have to become lints because they're just attributes, that would feel really nice. I don't know if it's realistic or the implications of it.
I think what we should do with these lints, I think I like your idea, Central, except that I think we should try to get a smaller group of people who feel passionately, and like, it feels like something where it's just so much of a slog to like do an RC on every lint individually. Trying to come up with some guidelines and like working through example by example, but coming up with some guidelines and then saying, this is the guidelines we did, here's the results we did.
I think perhaps if you like had a meeting about the lints, and then a dedicated meeting for the lints, and just
It feels like it's going to take a little while. It's not one meeting, it's going to take some time.
Is this maybe,
I feel like I don't care enough. But go on.
is this maybe something that we could push into like a lints team, similar to how we had like the style team RFCs and things like that, where it was a separate group that was
I feel like it
doing
needs
those?
at least a working group or something.
I don't think we should split the full language team. I think lints are quite different from diagnostics in how they sort of say what parts of how you should use the language. And
I mean, Clippy already did a lot of work here as part of the problem too, right?
they're more semantic than style. But a working group would be nice. Perhaps which works with Clippy as well.
All right. Well, I would be happy to propose, but I just don't see it happening as my concern. But I don't see the energy happening, but maybe it will. I don't know. So, all right, let's see. Do we want to jump to some of these? I feel like there's a lot here, which is of course the problem.
Yeah. accessible, I need to talk to bots and I need to respond to some comments. But other than that, we can move on. The never types.
Blocked? Is there a pending concern or?
NRC had a blocking concern, but they're no longer on the team, and they asked me to make sure that everyone on the team signed up before they remove their concern, which I've been trying to do, but I've had many other things to do, so I will just need to catch up on that work sometime. The never type stuff. What are we blocked on right now?
Well, we're blocked on some concerns. And so fallback, one question was?
I don't think we're actually blocked on that. We can just remake this as a LAN team only proposal. This has nothing to do with the library.
It's indirect coherence breakage.
Something that Ariel discovered from or something. I think we need to do some investigation on that one and talk to Eddie B and Ariel and see what's up. Maybe if we can future-proof something, perhaps, and then move on. That's my take on it.
So we can't implement from bang for T because it's in the wrong crate or something. Okay. Let's see. I see. It overlaps with the stable identity conversion. Okay, that's such a pain in the neck. Okay. I see. This is a good summary. I feel like
wasn't one of the things we could do to simply reserve the thing somehow, and
we could sort of prevent you. With some work, we could prevent you from implementing the conflicting impulse for the time being, or make them unstable, for example.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
I would be okay with that. It's not optimal.
It's a hack, but it's a temporary hack, at least. I will try to talk to Eddie and Ariel about this.
Okay. Yeah, I would be okay with some version of a hack here. I don't have a strong opinion here. That's my take. But
on the inference, everyone on the language team already signed up on the inference page.
I know I did, but I have second thoughts, but I also think it's fine. I hate breaking things. What about this RFC? This looks like it's got a lot of pending things.
Oh yeah, the one. The elide thing is in
Elide array size.
Yeah. So the concerns here is that the RFC is big, and also that it's too ad hoc, I think. If I remember, my concern, I think, is that it's done specifically for arrays and not like here we have an expression that means please infer, and then it infers if possible.
Right. So I think we probably can't really discuss this without Josh, but this feels like something we could put on an agenda and reach a permanent conclusion, or reach a conclusion.
Right.
I do feel like it'd be nice if we got to the stable point of, less than 100 of these or something. All right. Other ones that call out to you, Central?
The exposed stuff, I will. Ollie is working on implementing the deterministic thing, and I will think through the rest. Should hopefully make some progress soon enough.
Stabilize ADX TBM. This feels like the kind of obscure thing that will languish, but is not actually controversial.
Just read it and tick your boxes, but everyone who. Oh, by the way, how do we do with Aaron's boxes?
Yeah, usually when so Aaron's on leave right now. Usually I just check people's boxes if they're on leave, and I leave a note that I did so. I feel okay about doing that here personally.
Okay. And now it's in FTP. The has CPU ID is just take a look at it. It's a small thing.
Has CPU ID.
Yes, it's an intrinsic. Platform specific intrinsic. The allow not pointer optimized enums. You could take a look at that one and go. See if you want to take your box.
It's my thorough review. Okay. Alex thinks it's okay. Allow what? that could potentially allow a lot of things. Yeah, this one. Okay. Well, I can go through my own list afterwards. We don't have to do it live. I'm interested in the ones that are
okay. Sure. Okay, so everyone after this meeting, take a look at your list. That would be really nice.
I'm looking forward to the option to be like, I'm abstaining from this officially.
All right. Well, here's a question. Do we need to talk about any of these? Probably not.
I think we should move on to that actually.
Okay.
That seems more important.
You want to drive or?
Sure. If we jump to the last one, we discussed this before, and we sort of asked Matthew for a report. Well, we discussed it in a pre-triage meeting, not the proper one. And Matthew has been kind enough to write up a good report. And it's possible that we can implement this. So one solution is that we treat errors that aren't being emitted anymore as AC project errors in migrate mode, so that we can implement this unstable without sound assault. I think that's a reasonable solution. So we could stabilize this in soonish, I think.
I'm ready to move to merge.
I think we perhaps want to. I don't think perhaps we should execute right this instant. But there are some tests that Matthew thought might need some beefing up.
Okay. That seems fine. But I see. I was missing some context. Decide that stabilizing on sound code is okay. Yeah, I think we should wait then until it's a hard hearing. But it seems like it would be good to that end. We should try to get some estimate of when that might happen by starting to do crater runs or something. Like or I don't know if that estimate that Matthew gave was very informed.
So if you take a look at their so they write one solution to this is to treat errors that are no longer being emitted as being AC bar check errors for purposes of migrate mode. That shouldn't break anyone, right?
I see. I misunderstood what you were saying. Yeah, okay. I see.
So the work seems to be mostly like writing tests and stuff.
Yeah. No, that would work. Okay.
Can you write something up? Comment?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Treating the existing errors as on right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And we have 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I say we stop here. Take it easy. Unless anyone has anything they want to talk about.
Should we not discuss NL?
Oh, not discuss full NLL transition? I mean,
just maybe some status update or something. Do we know?
Yeah, we can. So I don't know if you all know, but we are now doing migration mode on all the additions. And so the big work is to do the final transition, which will take a little time. But we have to kind of, at minimum, there's some bugs we have to fix, and then we have to do some crater runs to see what's the affected crates and try to remove them, get them fixed as best we can. But I guess that's all there is to say as far as status update.
So perhaps we should start with a crater run.
Yeah, I think we should do a crater run. It can't hurt.
Yeah.
I guess that mostly means opening a PR that makes those into hard errors and run it.
Yeah, basically.
Usually the best thing is to set it to change the default level of the lint to deny.
Yeah. Cool.
So, cool. Are you going to do that, Taylor? Should I make an issue for it, Central? Doing a crater run?
So, yeah, that would be nice if you made an issue.
All right. I'll do that after the meeting right away. All right. See y'all later. Thanks for attending.